Hello and welcome to the Impact Dynamics podcast.
I'm Andy Little.
My name is Rusty.
We are talking about reloading, shooting, rifles.
And tonight we're talking about reloading, but you already said that. You stole my line. Let's get out of here. I'm off.
You.
Match director, mate. Match director. Hello, Andy.
Hooray!
Hooray. Hope that's enough.
We need your vote.
Now we've caught up to where we are on the podcast.
All right, go on back.
Roll the outro. All right, came back under duress.
Yeah.
Andy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
You know.
Josh, you're here?
Yeah.
All right, let's not talk to Josh tonight.
Match our energy, please.
Come on.
I'm here. Better?
Yes.
No, actually, that was worse.
No, turn it down.
Go back. Yeah, turn yours off. All right. Andy, this is what we call a bank show. This is a show that we have recorded
Make bank.
previously. Speaking of which, sponsored by the Bearded Chap tonight. We'll get onto that later. But we're doing this because you're away. You're away working.
Yes.
Tell us how it's going.
Probably by the time this is played, it's going really poorly.
Okay, great. Good to hear. Good to hear. So I'm not going to ask you about your week or anything like that because it's all outdated. But tonight we wanted to sort of wind the clock back on our reloading journey.
Yeah, okay.
And talk about reloading. Yeah, I guess that's it. How we got into it, how we sort of learnt about it, discovered it, all that sort of thing. So take me all the way back. What sort of put reloading on your radar? Not even before when you started doing it. What alerted to you the fact that it could make you your own ammunition?
I think at the time, my only centerfire I had at the time was a 270 Winchester. And at the time I was like, I'm punching through a lot of ammo. I need to make this cheaper.
Okay.
And we all know reloading is cheap. So
sure.
I
thought this topic would come up at some point.
Yeah. So
it sprung its head up early.
That's it. So we'll just debunk that myth straight away.
Okay.
Well,
no. We'll get into that. We'll provide some clarity around that. Because you are right, reloading can be cheaper.
Can be, yes.
Can be. Okay, anyway, sorry. So you were spending all the money.
Yeah. So I wanted to just sort of make it cheaper, more affordable. And then I've always had that sort of inquisitive mind of how does this stuff actually fit together and work? What can I tinker with? What can I play with?
This is why we don't let you near the podcasting
That's
desk.
right. Things go bad.
Stay there.
Yeah, I will.
Stay.
So that was interesting as well. Like I like sort of figuring out how things work. But I think for the start it was a cost thing. Punching 270 rounds down range, trying to make a sport a barrel shoot.
Back when you're at uni.
Yeah.
Or an apprentice.
Yeah. So I think that was the main drive, and I had a common friend we both know.
Yep.
Who's sort of
a previous host of this podcast, you might say.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming we're talking about the same person.
Who are you talking about?
Andrew Noble.
Oh, he was involved a little bit. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
He was connected. One of the people.
Yep.
Ryan. You're talking about Ryan as
that's
well.
That's it. Yeah. That's the one. So
okay.
He showed me sort of the basics and taught me, how do you get into it?
That's sort of like you go along to their place and you sort of help them load.
Yeah, that's it.
Or did he help you load?
He helped me load.
Oh, wow. He's one of the real nice ones then.
Yeah. I've carried that tradition as well with a few people.
Okay.
But anyway.
Whatever.
We digress. So, yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, if you want to get into reloading, come around, I'll show you some stuff and we'll make up some ammo for you. So, yeah, he and back then it was real basic. It was, single stage press, you're using balance beam and a throw, what do you call it? Powder thrower.
Powder thrower.
That's the one. And it was nothing too fancy. It was, if it fits in the chamber and it,
does the normal things.
Goes bang.
Primer up the arse and powder in the guts and put a projectile in the top.
Yep.
And point it the
away
right
we
thing.
go.
Away you go.
Yeah. So back then it was very basic, but at that time, basic is just what you needed. Like,
sure.
Because there's, as you know, it's a massive rabbit hole once you get into it. And when you're starting out, I feel like if you pump someone with a lot of reloading information, it's just like, oh God,
there's too much to go.
This is way too much. So
kept
it basic for a while. I just needed to save a bit of money, have a play around. And
so you reloaded with Ryan for a little while?
For a little bit, yep. Used his gear for a while. And then, well, when I say a while, it was like I can't really remember.
14 years.
Yeah. Still using it.
Still going. Going.
No, I think it would have been about 6 months.
Okay.
But I wasn't shooting as much back then. So, you know, a bit of loading lasted me a while. And then I was straight onto Gumtree, eBay, looking up secondhand sort of stuff.
Yep.
And picked up RCBS, Rock Chucker, like a real old school press, single stage. And it was just like a full starter kit, RCBS. And the guy was selling it because I think he was upgrading. So he, just getting rid of this full kit. And I was like, perfect, that will do me. Little did I know I needed a lot more to go with that, but that's all right.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And I've still got all of that stuff today.
Yeah, right. Still using the same gear.
Lots
of the same gear.
Still got
we'll get into that.
We'll
get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. How did you kick off?
Well, I was much the same. I was shooting a fair bit and wanted to save some money. But on top of that, I also wanted to learn how to reload, for the sake of reloading. I was working part-time in a gun shop, quite interested in the hobby and kind of wanted to get all aspects of what's going on. So I was at a gun shop on Thursday nights and it was often, sometimes it was quiet. And on those times it was quiet, the guys there would teach me to reload. They had sort of a very, very basic reloading set up out the back.
Yep.
You had again, balance beams, powder thrower, basic, it was rock chucker actually, I think as well.
Yep.
And there was a couple of dies there. So I think my first loads are 223s.
Yeah, cool.
And a gentleman by the name of Milan I was working with, he'd shot sort of on the world stage for bench rest.
Oh,
so
cool.
The guy could reload quite well.
Yep.
And so he taught me. But to be fair, there was probably about 3 or 4 people in the room sort of over the course of a couple of weeks who would give me some props here and some ideas and some info and stuff. And so I was very fortunate. I got a pretty sound understanding of reloading pretty quickly. And so I remember making the ammo. I was very nervous the first time shooting my 223. I don't know if it was the same for you shooting your 270.
Yep.
But that first time you're like, I created this. This probably won't go well.
Yeah, and this goes bang.
Yeah. So, but I was super conservative, as you should be when you start. Yep. You're at the base level of powder, and I went out and shot it, and it worked. Like you shoot the first round, and you're like, oh, really nervous, really tense. And you're like, bang, you're like, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. All right, good.
Yeah.
And then
why can't I lift my boat?
and so everything worked well. Put the next, and then I shot some groups, and those groups shrunk from like a good sort of 1.5 inches down to like under an inch.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh wow, this reloading thing more accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
This is good. So then I looked at the price, the costing thing. Same as you. You're trying to bring that cost down, and you're like, okay, I can reload for less. And the more you reload, depending on how much you sink into your upfront, but the more you reload, the cheaper it gets.
Yep.
Obviously, that's general logic on that. Because you might spend $1,000 on your setup, and then so for each load you produce, it's proportioned over a larger quantity.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, this is good. But then I was reloading to keep it cheap, and it worked well. And honestly, it worked well for the the equivalent 22-250 was one of the things I loaded for it a lot. And for the ammo that I was making versus the ammo I was buying, it was probably about 60% the price.
Yeah. Yep.
Factoring brass and all those sort of things. And I'm like, this is good.
I can load twice as much.
Yeah, I can shoot more. This is excellent. And then I thought I better buy my own gear. And I went in with the idea of buying, well, I'm curious to know how you went with this. You said you bought it a lot off eBay, but you bought a kit effectively.
Yeah, yep.
So I kind of went in knowing what I wanted to a degree because I'd been reloading at work for months and loaded probably several hundred rounds. And I'd even go in like on days when I wasn't working to use the gear to work.
Dedicated.
To reload. Yeah. Well, there's only so much you can reload on the
that's
clock as I'm learning.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm allowed to sort of do a bit while I'm working.
Yep.
And then that hits a point where you're like, all right, you've learned what you're learning here. Now you should be working. So
Did you just get paid all day to make your own ammo?
I did not. No, I did not. There was a few sessions here and there where that did, which was good, which is beneficial because I got to learn. And then I thought I'd better go in on my own time but use the gear.
Yeah,
and
for
that was excellent. So then I pieced together what my kit was. And I was able to buy the press and bought everything separately.
Okay.
So I didn't end up with anything. Well, I didn't think I was going to end up with anything that I wasn't going to use. Little did I know. But that's one of the things with the kits. Like, how was your experiencing buying what was effectively a kit from day one?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the press. I got dies. Can't remember where I got dies from, but for some reason, I think I've got like 4 sets of Winchester, like 270 dies. Just trying different stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So the press, the powder thrower, the balance beam. Then I had some lube rolly pads. What else did I have? Some funnels and some other little bits and pieces. I think I used the lube pads once or twice, and then I was like, nah, straight onto the spray. Just don't have time to be, doing each.
Yeah,
each
I'd much
case.
prefer to spend my time getting out stuck cases. Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Oh, okay.
I've only had one stuck case.
That's one too many.
Wow. Hasn't happened again.
And do you still use a spray?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got the.
Bleep that out, Josh.
Stop recording now.
Stop recording.
Yeah. No. So I used the like.
We'll talk about the spray later. Anyway,
okay.
carry back on.
So yeah, there's definitely been like a progression of that kit stuff, and it's real basic, and that initial cheap investment has just grown and grown and grown as you do, and as we delve deeper into precision and accuracy, and making things more precise and accurate.
This is good. Yeah.
I've got a big vocabulary.
Oh, we're doing well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like instantly that's going to be a TikTok. Okay.
Okay,
good.
It's just, you grow as you reload more and you learn more, you grow.
Do you remember? I'll tell you. So when I started actually buying my own gear, I bought a rock chucker.
Yep.
I bought the Hornady auto charge because I wanted that straight up.
Yep.
And then I bought all the various bits and pieces.
Yep.
And in hindsight, I remember thinking 6 months after or so, I'm like, I probably should have just bought a kit.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Because there was things in the kit. I'm like, balance beam. I'm not old enough to worry about having to use them.
Yep.
And in hindsight, it was good to have a balance beam. I bought one afterwards because I'm like, it's good to be able to cross-check.
Yes. Yep.
To have something that you can check things against that is really solid. And so I've always had a balance beam somewhere in the reloading kit since.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, and so I actually there's probably not enough in a what's the word? There's not enough of those little bits and pieces in a kit that you don't use at all. That is not worthwhile. I think I'm struggling with English. Josh, press the English button so I can speak better. What I'm saying is that that was it. There's stuff in a kit that you get that you think, oh no, I'm probably not going to use that, which is fair enough. But I sort of found that actually some of those bits I did want later on anyway as backup. But what did you replace quickly? Was there anything in what you purchased in a kit you're like, that's out of here, I'm moving on straight away?
Yeah, so I think the first thing was a scale. So went from the balance beam to a small battery digital scale. And this goes back to, I'm glad I had the balance beam because I think I've touched on this in a previous episode. Like after a year or I don't know how long it was, but I found that my little battery scale, as the battery was depleting,
the accuracy was depleting.
Yeah, and my loads were changing. Like what it said I had isn't what I actually had, and it was good. I did have the balance beam because I could cross-reference. Yep. And every now and then I'll do that with my Hornady, my RCBS dispenser. Like just check it, oh yeah, sweet, that matches up. That was the first thing I replaced was the scale. And then I think, so I had another mate who was getting into loading. And when we went halves in I ended up buying a media tumbler first for cleaning. And then he started getting into loading, and we bought a ultrasonic cleaner.
Mhm.
Now I use a stainless steel media tumbler.
Okay.
So just how you progress.
Just how you progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the scales was the first thing I upgraded. And then I reckon, what did I do next?
I'm not sure. That's
I don't
why
know.
I'm asking.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I got a feeling the next major thing I got was the auto dispenser.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the. I think that's one of the early things that changes it significantly pretty quickly.
Oh, I did get a trimmer in the kit. In the old school ones, you put the brass in, you do it up, and then you got the thing you slide in. That was so painful. That was really painful. I was able to get my drill on the end at one point.
Yep.
Sped it up, but still, yeah. Now I've got the Lyman thing, and you just
Push it. What do you do? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
again?
quick.
Last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Do
So-
you have to do each time 3 times, or
Yeah.
that was 4? Okay. Good.
So no,
Alright,
I think
worked.
yeah, you find very quickly in your process of reloading what slows you down,
Okay.
and there are faster and better and more accurate things out there that can speed up your process, but they.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the dollars of it, because
Yeah.
we both cited initially that money was a reason to get into reloading,
Yep.
and now we both giggled about the fact that money was a reason to get into reloading. But let's just sit back on that for a second, because I was able to produce stuff at a significantly reduced price.
Yep.
Like for like. Now, that's where I think a lot of people sort of misjudge this conversation, where you're talking about like for like.
Yep.
And so you look at basic factory ammo,
Yep.
and you can reload basic factory ammo cheaper
Yep.
than factory ammo. Press that English button again.
Spot on.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So you can produce the same ammo for a lot less money.
Yep.
With that. And that's taking out the concept or the idea of the sunk cost into the equipment.
Yep.
But you're going to stretch that equipment potentially, depending if you bought good gear or not, over 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Right. So that's going to become relatively negligible.
Yep.
And so you're able to do that. But what we tend to do, we start reloading because we're getting into match shooting and competition shooting or long range shooting. We start needing more accuracy. That slows down the process. That means there's more steps involved, so it takes longer. We also start to buy high quality gear.
That's it. Yep.
But then we look at that. What's a packet of 308 ammo worth? I haven't bought. Okay, no one.
I
knows.
think 6.
Josh, can you look up what a packet of 308 Federal 150 soft points is worth? Let's go with something real basic, right? Because what you start to do is you start to compare the ammo you're producing. Wait, no, neither of us are producing 308 ammo. Anyway,
No.
you start producing that ammo. That's what I was producing, but I was making 168 grain AMAX ammo, and you start doing that, and you start getting the powder nice, and you start running lapule cases, and you're doing all these things, and then you start looking at that price compared to.
See, the first website that comes up for a 20 pack is $39.60.
$39.60, right? So you start looking at that, you're like, I could just buy factory ammo cheaper.
Good. Yep.
Right, because by the time you look at lapule brass and those projectiles would be equivalent of 168 ELDs, you're talking nearly $1 projectile.
Yep.
You're talking, depending on how you break down your brass, but you're effectively $2 a reload.
Yep.
Fancy sort of level. I could buy factory ammo cheaper, but we're not talking like for like there.
No, we're not.
We're talking real basic point and shoot on the pigs, perfect ammo, great ammo for that. Versus competition ammo that could, shoot out to 1,200 meters really reliably.
Yeah.
And so you start then looking at, can you look up, Josh, while you're there, 308 match grade 168 ammo. That's something on those lines. Maybe Hornady match, something on those lines. Let's get a price on that. To put it in perspective of what it costs you. Now, you might be able to buy it cheaper maybe. We'll talk about sort of why you might not next, but that starts changing that significantly. Got any results on that there, Josh?
Hang on, just trying to find a website that has a price.
Yep, that would be very beneficial to discussion.
That's not one of them.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so for Hornady Match 308, 168 grain, 20 rounds is $55 for a pack of 20.
Is that LD or is that soft points?
BTHP.
Okay, yeah, let's try and find ELDs because BTHPs
ELDs.
are a little bit cheaper.
Some match A-tips.
Yeah, some match actives. No, let's go with ELDs. Let's not confuse the poor boy.
Yeah, okay.
But that was a 55. So that is what another 50% price increase or thereabouts, 40%. And so that's now, you start looking at the price. You're like, okay, I'm not making the $40 box ammo.
That's it, yeah.
I'm not probably even making the $55 box ammo.
All right, we have Hornady 308 ELD match 168 grain.
Yep.
For 308, is $77.95 for a 20 pack.
There we go.
Gone up.
$77.
Yeah.
That's what you actually got to compare the ammo to.
Yeah, what was it, 30 something?
$38 or $36 or something like that.
To 70.
To 77, right?
Yeah.
So you're
That's a big
producing
difference.
potentially $77 ammo, potentially, probably closer to that $55 mark.
Yeah, that's it.
At a ballpark. And so when you're talking about, it's more expensive to reload, you got to look at that. Like, what are you reloading? Plus, you also get the benefit of tuning to your gun. When did you first learn about load development and tuning your load to your gun?
Miserably when I tried it with the 270 Winchester.
Okay, early on.
I was I tried a lot of stuff, like tried full length sizing, neck sizing, different projectile weights, different projectile brands, the amount of powder, all of that, like seating depth. I got real into it.
Yep.
And I think I can't remember when it was, but like it was a 270 Sporter barrel timber stock with a crack in it. And
is that a feature or is it
no,
pay extra?
Yeah, I've still got it. And some things worked well and it grouped well, but majority of the time it wasn't shooting well. And it wasn't until I bought my first 223 in varmint barrel, and it was new.
Yep.
And I looked after it.
Yep.
And I was like, this is almost hole in hole.
Yeah, right.
And then I started, getting into the 223 reloading because I was like, 270 for that. So let's start this journey again.
Yeah.
And I was able to play with the load and really bring it in, and saw good results. So I'd say if you want to get into reloading and see results, try not to waste your time on a rifle that can't perform those results to start with.
That's an interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point. Do you still reload? We're jumping here, but do you still reload for the 270?
Yeah, I should.
On the occasion you shoot it? Yeah.
Yeah,
like if you were going to go
I don't
out,
have any ammo currently.
okay, but if you're going to go out and shoot goats in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and you're going to take the 270 because you're walking around and
Yep.
you'd reload for it,
Yeah, I've still got the data and everything for it.
and you'd probably be able to do that pretty economically.
Pretty quick and pretty cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I
So
guess that sort of ties in back. Like it depends on your purpose. Like if you're just reloading,
Immensely.
Short range pig or goat sort of hunting ammo, compared to match ammo, like those reloading processes for me are completely different.
okay, that's interesting.
Like I will not spend nearly as much time or processes or effort in the bulk pest control ammo than I will the match ammo.
Absolutely.
And that's I guess that's where you get your price comparison from.
And I think, that's back to our dollars point of view. Like, yes, it is. It can. Like the gag is that it ends up being more expensive reloading because you just keep buying equipment and you buy stuff and you make things. But there's and then also the components you buy, you're buying at a much higher tier, as we sort of shown with that comparison of a $77 pack of ammo and a $36 or $38 pack of ammo.
Yep.
And so you're buying more nicer components, which are on par with that match ammo. What I do want to come back to from a price point of view is there is certainly a relationship between price of equipment and speed of production.
Definitely.
At quality.
Yep.
So to break that down a little bit, I guess you can spend more money on particular pieces of equipment that will still maintain a very high level of precision, but do it quicker. So, for example, I've got a garrote trimmer. That is probably the single piece of reloading equipment that I bought that has sped up the process.
Yep.
You're looking at me very jealous.
Oh, bastard.
and rightly so.
Yeah.
But that was not cheap. It is also extremely consistent with its trimming, and so you're paying that balance where you're paying good money. Same with the auto tricklers.
Yes.
So they're expensive. We've done the tests against my Hornady Pro, which runs pretty well, versus an auto trickler, and the auto trickler does it in about half the time.
Yeah, that's it.
And more consistent.
Yep.
But it costs a lot more money, like a significantly amount more money.
Yeah.
Like 4 times the price.
That's it.
And so you have that balance of, yes, you can speed things. You can make amazing ammo for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time, measuring that, the balance beam. And a good mate of mine, Dan, he makes extremely good ammo, very rudimentarily. Very rudimentarily.
Dum-da-da-da.
Thanks. Through basic raw means. and uses the balance beam and does all the stuff, but the ammo is so good.
Yeah.
Because he spends time producing it.
Yeah.
And hasn't, doesn't throw the money into the equipment to make up that time, just enjoys the process and sits there with a coffee in hand and makes the go. And so, there is a balance there. Whereas if you consider your time to be more valuable, you don't enjoy the process so much, then you throw money at it and you can produce that ammo quicker.
Yeah, it's funny because that sort of ties back to a little bit of my work, and you can throw it into a lot of other situations. You got time, cost, and quality. Yep. You can only choose two.
Yeah.
So you can make, like with my 223, when I wanted to make vomiting rounds, I could make them really quickly and really cheap, but the quality would be terrible.
Yeah.
Like straight out of the thrower, seed it, done. Let's get into it. I think I didn't even clean the ammo, just resized it, popped a primer, new primer straight back in, and it was quick and cheap, but quality wasn't there. Where if you want quality, then it's going to be time and money.
Time or money.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to choose. You can choose all three.
You can, but
they build up in the middle. The Venn diagram intersects at three. But choosing two is a balance unless you throw all three at it.
That's it.
Yeah, I understand where you're trying to go with it.
It's a balancing point. It definitely is. And I think I used to. Well, I've gone full circle now with my 223.
Okay, done doughies.
Yeah. I've been throwing it around. That's So when I first got it, I reload for it, and I was like heaps into like trying the ammo, trying different projectiles, all this sort of stuff. And it was a 1 in 12 twist, so I couldn't play with it too much.
Yes, okay.
And then I just started buying factory ammo for it. And then I got I got a new barrel for it, so it was a 1 in 8, I believe, hoping that I'd buy factory 69 grain ammo. Because I'd worked out it's not worth my time reloading the 223 for that ammo. That's where like a time cost thing comes into it. I'd spend the time on my 6.5 and my 6mm and not so much for my 223. But now I can't buy 69 factory ammo, or what I wanted in bulk.
Yeah.
So now I'm back to reloading it. So
yes. I was doing the exact same thing with my 223. Was we're buying that OSA or Buffalo River, whatever brand it came out under, 69 grain Sierra Match Kings in the 900 pack.
Yeah, and I was like, let's go, let's run that.
They smashed it in my my setup really, really well. Can't get them now.
Yep. So now I'm back to reloading it.
I just lent my gun to someone else.
Hey, that works too.
That was an easy solution.
Buy a caliber that's plenty available.
That will do it as well. Nice. And so your process have obviously changed over the years pretty significantly. Tell us about a couple of the key significant changes that's happened, what you do.
Yeah. So I reckon I've gone to neck sizing. I've gone to bushing die sizing, and that's been able to, I guess, prolong the failure of my brass. So being able to control that neck.
Prolong the life, maybe?
That one.
Press the English button.
Prolong the failure.
Right, we're back on deck.
Who is that guy?
Sounds great though.
So that's been good, just being able to play with that neck tension and get it all consistent. The other big one would have been annealing.
Okay.
So I noticed a massive difference from when I wasn't annealing and just seating the bullets and seating the projectiles, like just feeling the difference between not annealing and then annealing them all and getting heaps lower SDs and extreme spreads. I'd say those two were the biggest ones. Yeah,
the biggest changes. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, as I mentioned before, the trimming side of things is one of the biggest things. Not necessarily in performance, but just in time. Other trimming options just took.
I just don't trim.
That'll solve it. Long-term solution right there. Powder dispensers. Powder dispenser has been such a game game changer, lack of a better word, of rather than powder throw. I still, so for a long time there, my 22 to 50, when I was shooting a lot of varmint sort of stuff, I loaded my 22 to 50 completely on a Dillon.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And I would do batches of 1,000 rounds.
Nice.
And it was bliss. It was fantastic because, it was just like an hour and a half done. Ammo for the year. Done.
Yep.
And it was good. It was convenient. It was easy. It was good enough. It was good enough to smack a fox in the face at 300 meters.
Yep.
And you have a bit of variation on those rounds.
Yep.
But I wasn't trying to win comps. Still not trying to win comps, as you can tell. But it was really fine for that.
What a fox at 300.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Absolutely. Sorted the thing out.
Yeah.
And so running progressive press for that sort of thing was really good.
Yep.
And then yes, I did actually one point I bought 2 auto dispensers. When I was shooting quite a bit. 2 auto dispensers just sped that whole process up so much more.
Yeah.
Use the same counter. You see the same check weights on both.
Yep.
So they were balanced.
Okay.
And then being able to sort of have that powder's ready, load it up. That powder's ready, load it up. That powder, just being able to pump through it. So a couple of little tips from reloading from yourself, Andy. What have you? I know that you don't claim to be the best reloader out there. Neither of us do.
No.
But no doubt there's little things you've found that over the years that you've been reloading that you can pass on, that either people can disagree with and scream at the I was going to say radio, but we're not that old. What do people listen to this stuff on now?
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Are their phone?
Some sort of
device.
Browser.
Yeah, that's it.
App.
People can scream in general at your disagreeing with your advice or take it on board and be like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Putting me on the spot here.
It's exactly right.
I try not to stress about the finer details. Like
just fill it up and scrape off the top and then put the powder and then just...
a couple of taps, if it settles in, you're good.
Right. Let's not do that.
No, as in set yourself a goal and a plan, and like if you can't get your rifle shooting hole in hole, if that's not what you need it to do, try not to stress. Like it's a bit of that perfectionist sort of thing where like you have to accept your capabilities and your rifle's capabilities, and this is where it ties back to the 270. I wasn't giving up on that thing, and I spent a lot of time and money trying to get that thing to shoot. Yeah. And it's sort of, accept where your skill in reloading and shooting and your rifle's capability. Yep. And, just try and work that out for yourself.
All right. Good.
You know what I mean.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
I think you raise a really good point. I think that like your purpose of use. I mean, same with buying scopes, same with buying rifles, same with sort of all these things. What you're trying to achieve. I think that Josh, have you got any inspirational music you can put on underneath this? I'm sure we can do that in post. I'm sure they can be done. But there's some inspiration music coming through. Reloading is a journey, Andy. Oh, it is a journey, and you need to embrace the journey and realize that it takes time. It's a did you want a hug? Is that what this is going
I'm embracing it. Okay. Keep going.
Embrace the journey. It really is. And so some people I'm going to fill your cup. There you go. Now you've thrown me. Press the English button. There we go. Wow, we got 2 that time. But you continually learn, and it's one of those things where you can reload begrudgingly because you need ammo. Mm-hmm. So if you want to try and do it as quick as you can, as cheap as you can, as well as you can. Yep. But it is also an entire activity on its own. Yep, definitely. And you can, so like to your point, if what you need to do is PRS shoot, let's say, because it's the thing we know the best. Yep. Some might argue that, but that's apparently what we know the best. And, do you need ammo that shoots 0.2 of a minute? Maybe you do, but more likely is that you need to go out and practice a whole lot more than you do need to reload. Definitely. And so fair enough. So that aside, your purpose of use aside, and load for your purpose of use. But if you actually enjoy the activity that is reloading, the journey that it is, and the data that you can obtain, and the challenges it brings outside of actually shooting competitions or hunting or anything, embrace it. And it takes time. And you know, I've spent time, been fortunate enough to spend time and meet people who've been reloading for 60 years. That's when they started reloading. And they just, they're this wealth of knowledge because they've made all sorts of mistakes and not catastrophic mistakes. There's some basic safety stuff to understand, but they've tried things and they've played with stuff and they've bought this gear and tried that gear and bought some cheap gear and found some of the cheap gear works extremely well. And they bought some expensive gear and found it also works extremely well. And then bought some of either end and found it's terrible. And they've experimented. And in all honesty, a lot of people think of reloading as an ends to a means. Of I just need ammo and I want it cheaper, as we've discussed, which is fine. That's fine. But for many others, reloading itself is half the fun. And that constant. Is that music still going? Good. That constant discussion and learning and experimentation, data collection, implementation, and then reevaluation and all the other words that end in ation continue to sort of pursue a goal of getting better, and getting more understanding. And I think that much is lost that people think reloading is just there so I can go shooting the next weekend. Which is absolutely fine. If that's all you want it to be, it's cool. But it's such a significant part of our hobby that it can be its own thing, almost in its own right.
Oh, definitely. It can be.
End music now. Don't put music on Andy.
Bring it back in. Here we go.
Music paused. Music paused.
Here we go.
Some heavy metal.
Reloading is like a journey.
That's what I said. Get your own words.
And the information for the mind and the soul.
See, when I did it, people believed me.
What does our podcast become?
Inspirational.
It can be completely its own hobby. I can definitely see how, you get your engineers and your physicists and all those sorts of guys who just really like to know how things work.
I'm curious how many physicists you know. 6?
Heaps. They all follow me on Instagram.
Most of my friends are physicists. I can barely say the word.
If you like physics and chemistry and knowing how things go bang.
Chemistry is different to physics, just so you know.
Chemistry, powder, bang, whoop. But if you're interested
can you make that a button of chemistry, powder, bang, whoop?
We will now.
There will be
we'll have something.
Excellent, thanks.
But yeah, if you're just interested in how that sort of stuff, I can see how people
100%.
like reloading purely for reloading.
Yeah. I get it. We've gone very philosophical.
Ooh, it's
not
intense.
physicist.
It's intense.
It is intense.
Take a breather.
All right. Well, you know what? Rather than taking a breather, we might wrap it up there.
Yeah.
There is lots in the reloading world, and we will delve back into this discussion when we can speak English again, it would appear. But we've exhausted our ability to speak words this evening.
That was close.
It's right on the limit of that. So wrap up. Cheers, Andy. Thanks for talking about putting things in ammo.